Okay. Well, that's never good when your Stream Deck stops working. See if that changed anything. I went to press the button to go live and it was like, nope. Okay, there we go. Hey Raj, how you doing? Welcome in. So we need to start the stream with a little bit of admin on Water Drink Water. I did promise I would look at that yesterday. Make sure that's handled. So we'll look at this in a second. So this is the, pardon me, the PR that I made last week on Water Drink Water. Wesley reviewed it, so we're just gonna go through those comments just to make sure there's nothing outstanding. So let's go to, I think files change view will give me a look at this. Okay, we don't need confirmed password. That's okay. That is great for the user experience. That way they won't have to look where they have to register. This is again putting the registration link in there. I think data annotations are valuable to give concrete feedback. However, we don't use them. I suggest we do use them and give detailed feedback to the user. So data annotations validator is a good point. I put it in there and never used it. It's putting attributes on here to do data annotation. I don't know how I feel about that one, because that one is, again, it's the who owns validating the model. Do we mimic it on the client? Do we have it on the server? Where do we put the validation? Like, who cares? So yeah. Okay. This doesn't give concrete feedback to the user. Now they have to figure out what they did wrong. Please fill out all fields and ensure passwords match. Unable to register, please try again. I can see that. We won't be needing if else if we use data annotations. The validation message if the registering itself failed is great feedback, so we'll keep that. So again, data annotations would give us some cleanliness in that it tells which fields were bad, but again, it's who owns the validation. Now, because of the model, not this model, because of the data model, there you go. Suggested change, yeah. So this model here, the registration form data, it's not quite that clean. So the registration page has this registration form data. That is not a shared model. So we'd have to change this slightly to be a shared model and then put the attributes on. I'm not sure I agree with attributes like this. They're clunky, they hide business rules. I'd rather go with fluent validation, but then fluent validation doesn't work with this. So it's a kind of choice. So I'm going to make sure I reply to this. Validation attributes are useful. Blazor here, but they aren't useful unless we use the same model. And they aren't useful if another client is produced. But it's very much Canny, thank you very much for 5 months. Appreciate that. Hope you're well. Just finishing up some admin stuff that I promised. Got you, yes. Hi, Hannes Panda. How you doing? I'm good. I've been watching the food channel. Some very nice foods in there. But the unusual on use the same model, and the unusual if another client is produced using a different technology. We'll have to discuss validation at a greater level. I can definitely. Yeah. So again, my problem with attributes like this are they do kind of hide a business rule, right? Whereas this is a business expectation. Oh, it has to be this length. It has to be this. So we have to be careful that we don't introduce business rules in with the attributes because it just hides that behavior. Just taking on you. Well, thank you. Good to see you. Final note, I understand that no, we're not really putting it. This is the first time to review. Hope it helped. Absolutely. So what I'm going to do here is before I move away from this, I'm going to go to discussions. And I'm going to new discussion, validation. Validation. As procrastinate regular work. Yeah. So I will get to the game dev stuff in a minute. So we're going to, today, I want to get the projectiles working properly, because right now they're not colliding properly. So I need to learn how to potentially see how the enemies are destroying themselves with their giant bullets. So I'm getting automatic scores. So I'll be doing that, and maybe improving that a little bit. So there is a method for it. I found it shortly. Nice. Validation is a challenge. Where does it go? Do we duplicate it? Do we have one? Hide business. Rules. We use validation attributes, the model version. Okay, so I'm going to start that. I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to comment, merge pull request. So this pull request is always going to get merged because it's my PR, and I knew it was good, but obviously I still want to respect the process, right? So Dota took some time yesterday. Not sure the desired units for each log entry would be cups of water, liters, or something else. Questionable choice of data structures also. Maybe it should be an int tuple. I just maybe behind a feature flag for what it's worth. So what Dota has done here is I created a mock, well, not necessarily a mock, a temporary object to demonstrate the data, and then done the display, right? Because there's no API endpoint hooked up to it yet. Hi Nissan, how you doing? So yeah. That begs another question. That's another discussion. General new discussion. Feature flags. Fine server. Thank you for the Locanis Panda. Or Panda. I should just say Panda. Do we roll our own? Or is there... on date? Is it double C, double O? Yeah, it's double C, double O M. Okay, so I'm gonna start them up. I'm not gonna merge this PR just for right this second, because I think it is something I want to just highlight the discussion in. As opposed to the, yeah. Okay, so we're going to do it that way. And that way we can have conversations off stream that kind of follow existing discussions. So there we go. Okay. Game dev. So yesterday I broke out projectile just temporarily, right? I understand that they could. A projectile could be projectile with a direction, and right now I'm saying that the player goes up and the enemy goes down. That's okay for right this second for what I want to do. I'm okay with doing it that way. It gives me a visual to differentiate enemy from player, and allows me to, the enemy doesn't like global position. The player sets global position because the player's moving around and the enemy's in a static position. So the projectile does not do. That's funny because now it's a protected. It does that. If I change that, the projectile will all break. So I'm just going to leave it for right this second. And again, it's going to change anyway. So the enemy knows when it's been collided with. That's how I've done it so far. Whether that's the right way or not, I don't know. But again, we're learning, right? So right this second, if a projectile, and I probably should just call it projectile, just to remove the B word. Just to annoy you, the method you're looking is in physics body 2D, which I don't have set, right? So enemy, so the enemy tank so that's not, I don't want visibility layer, doesn't matter. That's not what I need. And enemy fire visibility bullet. So one of my thoughts was, hey, if it hits something that's not, and then I saw this does have if projectile.collision layer. But I don't see, there's no way of setting in the collision polygon. There's no collision layer. So I haven't got physics objects in here yet. Physics. Polygon is just defining the form. One of the most powerful but frequently misunderstood collision features is each collision object 2D has 32 different physics layers it can interact with. Collision layer, collision method. But they can't be edited in the inspector. Because that's light mask and visibility layer. That's collision polygon though. There you go, collision. Okay, so the collision object has the layer. So okay, so the enemy fire, the tank. So what's describe what layers the body will scan for collisions. If an object isn't in one of the mask layers, the body will ignore it. By default, all bodies scan layer 1. Okay. Okay, now I just gotta get my head around. So my player projectile, if that's on layer 1 for collision, And my enemy fire. Okay. So. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to. So, main scene, my player. Why doesn't that have. Why is that collision object? Collision. Character body. Oh, because the character body 2D gets the collision. Okay. So. The player is on layer 1. I'm not. I'm trying to avoid renaming the things right this second, just to. The square laser the object appears in by default, and the mask. So if player is on layer 1, and it masks on layer 2, or 1 and 2, and then the bullet is on layer 1. No. Let's get my head around this properly. Right. That's I get my I so my enemy bullets want to be looking at mask 1. They want to be so let me start the enemy point first, right? So my enemy bullets want to be on layer 2 and mask layer 1, so they want to collide with layer 1. And my tank wants to be on layer 2 but mask on layer 1 because it's going to take a bullet, right? And the bullets want to be on layer 1 and mask on layer 2. Layer 1. And that. No. The tank doesn't matter, does it? I'm just going to get my head around it for the first time. And then this is going to make sense to me, I swear. So that's going to be on layer. Well, let's have a look. Let's see what that does. Because now that shouldn't collide in the same way, should it? Yeah. Okay, so that's improved. Okay, so now on my player script, I don't have a collision right now on unit. So this is not firing now because it's... Gotcha. Okay. This amazing game. Okay, so if it's not a projectile, I don't care. I'm not colliding with buildings yet. Projectile collision occurred, and then that should just disappear the enemy fire right the second. Is what that should do. So if I get in the way, it should block. No. Oh, that's not collision though. That's on screen. That's on unit hit is just a method. Did I wire that up differently? Projectile has no collision. I'm wondering if I did. I mean, with your way of doing it, you could check what he's hitting and don't care about layer mass at all. 1999 EA 2 DLCs already down to 2 different colors, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm already planning the add-on content. I was thinking of charging $100 for the gold edition. Hi, Animated Patriots. How you doing? Radio Patrick. Hello. How you doing? Game dev. Yeah, I'm trying to learn. I am out of my element with this, so I'm just trying to basically start with a quick shoot 'em up game to try and learn my way around some of the things: collision, camera movement, input, etc. The box edition where you use old serial bots and throw a USB stick in it and ship it. Oh dear. Yeah, I was looking at the new Assassin's Creed stuff, and they were like, yeah, they just $100 gold edition, $130 ultimate edition. Like, the prices of these games are getting ridiculous for basically just shiny weapons and costumes and stuff. Okay, so I think what I've done here is on the enemy, on the tank, I've probably, yeah, I've hooked up a signal in that case, whereas with the other stuff yeah, so I'm not even consistent there, but that's okay. So I can go here, node, nice choice using Godot too. It's feeling pretty nice. You know, I'm happy to try and learn with this. You can optionally get a print out of the map. Okay, get the PDF with the map to print it yourself. Yeah, you can enable a map button. It's honestly an intimidating learning curve, but it's not overly complex, I'd say. Yeah, you know, I'm not great at math. I'm pretty below poor at math, so getting my head around some stuff might be a challenge. But you know, this is something that I enjoy doing, so I'm going to do a couple of days a week of this for right now. Mix it in with water, drink water every now and then. But yeah, yeah. I haven't done anything beyond basic math in decades, so it's going to be a challenge. I'm going to have some definite, because that's an area 2D, whereas my player is not an area 2D. My player is a collision object 2D. So that doesn't get all the same things. Interesting. You're doing it, you can check what he's hitting and don't get, yeah. But, so, my ultimate game would be this game. Trains. A-Train. Because I find the simulation of the moving resources around cities building, etc. That would be my ultimate goal for a game. If I could make any game, I'd make A-Train. I have a very fond memory of that game. But I am nowhere near that. And I need a different type of math for that as well. For the simulation. Okay, so node. So the player character body doesn't get the same events. Interesting. Most of the stuff is makeable with simple linear math, things like loops, etc., but that is already simplified through most of IDEs anyway. But you've still got to understand the concepts you're trained to apply, even if it's done for you in a lot of ways. And I've never I've not done a lot of math either, so that's a challenge. But I'll learn. So, but as always, the stream is the same, right? If you want to ask questions, give me opinions, I'm always open to a conversation about any dev. You also need to know. You always need to know what you want to achieve. Okay, you need to know what to look for. Yeah, it's that's one of the biggest challenges with software development in general is you actually learn what you want to look for. You don't learn everything, and it doesn't just sit in your head all the time, and you can immediately recall, oh, there's a technique for doing that. Let me just write the code out of memory for that, right? What you do is you learn how to search. Your Google through is the most important dev skill. It's not just all going to come back instantly. If you, I do karate, and they highlight the fact that if you don't use it, it does fade. Now, the amount of training you've put in, you can recall it when you're kind of brought back to it, but you don't have the reaction times, you don't have the abilities there, that they do fade over time. And the same happens with software, right? If you're working in software day to day, it makes perfect sense. But if you step away from it for 6 months, it's a lot harder to get back into. And over time, with your experience, you kind of learn what you learn what you want to learn every time. Dev skill, speed, Google food quality. Yeah, because you can throw a lot together, but it's experience is just knowing what to look for next time. Okay, so the difference here is, okay, so I have collision on the character body. I'm not going to worry about that. But what does this mean? So the ISP starts to hiccup when you're happy to know things instead of Googling everything. How to for loop in Python. That's interesting. And that's again, I don't like jumping between languages for that reason, because it's if you're working in something, and that's why I stopped doing PHP as side project stuff as well as .NET, because it just messed with my mind all the time because I was doing different things. And that's one of the things that's appealing about Godot and Unity and other frameworks, right? They use C#. It's hard. Do I need a different? Do I need something else here? Yeah, I can't. I have been trying to learn some Japanese for years. I barely. I mean, I can go through Duolingo, but that's not teaching me how to speak Japanese. That's teaching me how to memorize sequences, so I can make out some words. Most of my job required me to write in C++, Python, Swift, and Bash, and my side projects at the time were C# and Dart and Flutter. Yeah, it's it's hard moving around. Tend to jump to the shortest language I know. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm trying to learn here is, how do I know from the player perspective? Do I care from the player perspective they've been collided with? Or do I? Well, yeah. Hmm. Oh, I couldn't keep any syntax straight. Yeah, I mean, especially if you look at the way you write a loop or simple syntax in each of those languages, right? They can be similar. Well, Bash definitely not. Um, but they can be very different. Like just going back to PHP, right, and JavaScript. Um, Moving between JavaScript, PHP, and C#. If you're doing for loops, etc., they can be similar but different syntax. And PHP flips it. So what I was thinking I had here was, because obviously what I wanted to test is, can I get the projectile to disappear when it hits? Because I was relying on the thing that got hit to tell it if a collision occurred with it. Well, that's how I ended up programming in full languages. Like, it was the right tool for the task. So, diverting from this a second, one of the things I want to evaluate is, I don't know if I'm going to come up with a use case immediately with the larger project, with the Liquid Sky project. I want to demonstrate that because of the way it's designed, you could build extra components that still function as part of the larger system, but they don't have to be in C#. They can be in other tools, but they will play a part with the overall system just fine. But I've been struggling to find, to find something that would give me a reason for that, because obviously there's not a lot of processing I'm doing, and that would be my primary thought, would be that it'd be something that would be processing heavy that C# for some reason would not be very good at, right? Data analytics of some form or something like that, where it's crunching data. Maybe C# is not the perfect language for that. Maybe there is a better language. But I've yet to think of anything that I could possibly do that would allow me to demonstrate that effectively, that couldn't just be turned around as, well, C# can do that, why bother? Because it might be nice to play with gimmicks or other languages just to get the experience, but when you do that, you introduce not just a challenge for yourself, because again you're jumping back and fun, but you end up with passing on that learning requirement to anybody else coming into the project in future. So I always pause when it comes to stuff like that, right? Should I use this cool new thing because it's a cool new thing, or should I just go with what I know or what's there because it helps cognitive, avoid cognitive overload for any newcomers? For a new project, I've embarked on building an ASCII-based 3D renderer to run in a terminal using Miniscript. It's tough, but it's good. Wow. 3D renderer to run in a terminal. That's That's okay. Just because, or you have actually a cool concept in mind, a cool like end concept in mind. Okay. It's Tuesday. Um, I will certainly try. I'd like to see that. That'd be interesting. Just because that's cool. Keeps your brain sharp, I suppose. um, yeah. Part of the reason I don't stream at night is because sometimes I just don't have the chance to get back to the computer in the evenings. But I'll certainly try to get there. I front load my day with development and do exercise in the evenings, um, pretty much every evening. It's been on my project bucket list for a long time. I want to see that I can make the game Grey Hack do. Well, so it's all meant to be rendering there. So you can put it in. Nice. So you're pushing the boundaries of Grey Hack ultimately. That's impressive. But I mean, um, that's exactly what you should do with software, though, right? It's find a project you care about, that you're invested in, that you want to do, because it will keep you focused, right? Wow, that's a name I haven't seen in a long time. I think I have that upstairs. I have a few game programming books from back in the old days. Okay. I know I have Tricks of the Windows Game Programming Gurus from Lamoth. I think it's Lamoth, yeah. Okay. So an enemy fire, an enemy is an area 2D with a collision polygon, right? And the node, why is area 2D the one with the on unit hit? Why am I doing the collision on that when am I doing this wrong? Hi, one tip. When you're making things like projectiles that can carry an effect, it's usually better to make them generic so you can pass in type parameters to projectile while launching it. Okay. Thanks, Jacob. Welcome in, by the way. Yeah, so I'm kind of stumbling my way through this a little bit. I'm trying to learn bit by bit. I have not done game dev before, so I've done a lot of development, but none of it real game dev. So I'm trying to kind of stumble my way through a simple project to start with, learn the rules, learn the lessons as I go, hit the stumbling points. Yeah, I can definitely see how generics would help in there. I got some basic rendering done, but I'm in the process of making more generic model definitions as a class and optimizing the drawing algorithm to remove stuff you can't see. Definitely whenever you can swing by. Nice. I'd like to see it. I genuinely would like to see that. You know, it's cool seeing other people's cool things. If you're interested, by the way, in lower level stuff and old retro stuff as well, I would recommend checking out Trap. He does 3DO development, so he's developing libraries and stuff for the 3DO, and working on tools in that realm. Hey, Trav, how you doing? Very worth checking out if you just like really cool stuff, really good conversation, and extremely knowledgeable developer. in game dev, the biggest hurdle is architecture. You want an architecture that doesn't limit your dependency access. People make the mistake of using singletons everywhere, but that couples the code. So Jacob, that's kind of one of the rules. That's one of the things that I'm wanting to stumble into, so that I can learn why and how to avoid. I'm not going to necessarily understand it without doing it because it's just my way of learning. But yeah, it's one of the things that's always stuck me on game dev is this high dependency rate, and it breaks my brain a little bit. I've done a lot of app development. I don't do anything like this, so this is a scary world for me, especially to stream it, because I do not like the idea of looking stupid, but I know that I will along the way. So I need to understand here. Yeah, I feel you on that. I understand. Also come from an app developer background. Now I'm a professional game dev working full time for about 10 years. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, it's I've built applications for the past 25 years, so it's a little hard to just jump into this. And I never really got into game dev as a kid either, so I'm going to learn some difficult lessons. This won't be the full stream. This will be the full stream today, but this won't be my full-time stream. I'm gonna pop off to work though, so I'll catch you later. Good luck with this. Patrick, thank you very much for stopping by. Thank you, and I will definitely make every effort to get into the stream and check out the project as soon as I can. That does sound interesting. And, I look forward to checking that out if you manage to get it on stream. Patrick also plays Hunt Showdown on stream and does some movie nights as well. So someone else worth checking out. I pretty much started development due to games. After tinkering with Basic, I moved to 386 Assembler to do faster graphics rendering. Yeah, I think I've suffered from a lack of attention span for most of my life. Now I look back on it. And I didn't have a great group of people around me that were interested in computing at all. So I never got in with a crowd that was super into computing. So I never got that passion and energy to carry along. So if I got stuck on something, I just stopped because I didn't understand. So I had no parents that were into it. I had no friends that were into it. I just had my own interest, and yeah, so it kind of fell away. Now I fell away from programming a little bit in the late 80s, and then kind of got back into it in the mid 90s, and then tried to go to college for it, but the college in the UK for software engineering back then was pretty terrible, and I kind of again got my attention span. I got bored and moved on, and then just became an app developer. I was a lone coder guy. Apex, good morning, by the way. I'm struggling through some things today. I'm trying to figure out the collision properly. Trying to understand the relationships with things, but yeah, I was the lone coder guy. No one else I knew was into computers. Just had a room full of computers and tinkered. Yeah, I didn't get a computer. I didn't get a PC until the late 90s. I had a VIC-20 when I was a kid, and then that was all we had, and consoles. So I didn't really get into computing in that way. I didn't have any single mom, no money, no access to that stuff. So, and my friend had an Amiga. So yeah. I have a PR out there. Is it supposed to be testing it? Not necessarily. There is some Junicus did put some B unit tests in there, but for the water measure, and I've also taken the opportunity I added a note to the PR, just to honor discussion, maybe we can talk about that later, because I wanted to start having the discussions on there. So I added a couple of discussions on feature flags because I'd like to know more about that, what your thoughts are, and also on the validation stuff that Wesley brought up on the other PR that I merged. So I figured we could just carry on some conversations around that. I started PCs late too. No 8-bit micros or early IBMs like most people I knew with computers. First PC was a 486 in the mid-90s. Yeah, we had a Cyrex 166. That was the first PC we got in 97. Cirrus Logic. Yeah, Cirrus Logic, Cyrex, or whatever it's called. Yeah. So, okay. Trying to get over this hump at the same time. Yeah, it's always games have always fascinated me. I've always loved, and I love watching anything like what you do, Trap. I love watching that. I don't know. I don't consider myself smart enough to get into that, but it is because comp sci. I did not have a traditional comp sci background. Right, I never got into school for that, and just basically started working. And I've been an app developer that I just love what I do. I love building software. So the collision object, but the collision object is not what I'm looking for. The area 2D is what does the area entered, and I'm actually doing the collision with. So I'm not relying upon the collision. So like, I think kind of you said, I'm not actually using it, so I don't need to know about layers in that respect. The only thing that the layers stopping me from, no, but hold on though. I'm missing a relationship here. So my enemy fire projectile, when I did this, I moved it to layer 2 and masked it on layer 1, and the bullet is on layer 1 and masked on layer 2, which allows me to still hit the enemies. The tank, I put this on unit hit. So the collision does happen against area 2D. Trap's building libraries for 3DO, so he's using C++, and building a lot of cool things. He was writing a media player, a music player on stream the other day, and he builds an emulator called Opera for 3DO, which I use on my handheld emulator products, which I still haven't get that figured out for the 3DO yet. Voice activated, like, in case you have a question, just say Canny in front of your question, and I'll be here again. No worries, Canny. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Captain Fubar, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Hope you are well. Which PR did you want the comments on? I closed the registration flow just to move it forward. So that's all good now. Wesley added some comments on that one. But yeah, if you've got any suggestions, we'll talk about. We'll probably intermingle this over the next couple of weeks, but I'll start some discussions on these, and we can maybe get some comments and feedback. I'll sub, so maybe I can help sometime. Got to get back to work. Jacob, thank you very much for hanging out. Appreciate it. Appreciate the input as well. I'll definitely take note of the things. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Jones, good afternoon. Just roll 1 in that PR. Cool. Yep. That'd be cool. So what I'm trying to figure out This is just from, again, this project is not for anything. I'm not trying to make a game here, right? What I'm trying to do is understand the component pieces of what I'm trying to build, right? So I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, input, collision, who knows about what, when. These are these challenges that always bug me and get me stuck and stop me from moving forward with these things. So I'm just trying to learn about the mechanics of Godot, how things relate, and do all that sort of stuff. So just starting with something simple, I consider shoot 'em up simple, because it's got camera movement, it's got input, it's got collision, it's got phases. So again, this would be the end of the level, so I can learn about how I transition that. I can learn about saving things, so I can just learn the pieces. I don't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be overthought. So I'm deliberately, yesterday I had projectile. I brought that out into enemy and player just so I could look at the differences. Again, just kind of moving myself forward. I don't need to end with the most perfect solution. And I'm happy for input, but don't worry about me making it perfect. I will get there. So what I'm struggling with mentally right now is the player is has a character body 2D. Well, it is a character body 2D node type, and it does not have. It has a collision object, but the collision object is not what I collide on with the tank. With the tank, it is an area 2D, which is what the tank's inherited from, that actually has the collision. And that's melting my brain a little bit. Because what's the point in a collision object 2D if it doesn't have the ability to understand when it's being collided with, but it does somehow. So I'm missing a relationship somewhere in this path. There's a method that you can use outside of Tickle World, move and collide. The player script is what's moving, right? So this is not, that doesn't exist right this second. So the player is being moved by the physics process on the player script, and then I attach the player script to the player. So my assumption was, because it has the collision polygon is what's messing with my head, I suppose. Because there is no understanding. It will turn the collider it collides with, assuming you use the traditional movement side mode. No. Again, I'm making this up as I go along and going off and trying to learn when I hit something that I need to understand. But right now I'm just trying to get my brain, my head around. Now I see it. Why is... Yeah, move inside a move and collide. Character body control through code, rigid body control through physics engine. Right. So I'm not trying to introduce physics to this, right? This is all just about moving things around. I don't need things like inertia and stuff to affect my aircraft. Kinematic collision 2D. So do I not need character body 2D? I just need it to be an area 2D then? My understanding was that physics gets evaluated more often. I can't remember where I pulled it from. I didn't do that in process rather than physics process. Therefore, character body offers two methods to move it. You have move and collide and move and slide. All you need is provide a velocity value. Speed times direction. Right, so that's what I'm saying. Right now, I don't need character body 2D to be a physics body. I could move it to be an area 2D. For what I'm doing with it, I could make that an area 2D and have the same behavior I have elsewhere and move forward rather than trying to move into a realm that I'm going to find more difficult. Yeah. So if I change the type of this to area 2D, what do I lose? Let's find out. The scripting errors from it. Yeah. I got that. Right. So now if I go back to there, public void unit hit. Now on enemy, let me do, yeah. So if I want to get into the physics stuff, I can get more adventurous later with that, right? I don't have to, right? But I don't have to do it for what I'm doing now. But if I had things falling down the screen, etc., then it gets more complicated. But nothing's falling. So now in the player, if I go here, pick. Got to remember to do that. Connect. So what I'm looking for is that the enemy bullets disappear when I step in their way. That's why I'm trying to do this. Does not need collision. You can limit the movement to the viewport by just getting extract area. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just trying to muddle my way through to try and learn in the way that I'm. I probably missed a wire up there because I changed that out. No, cannon's still intact. So what I did is I created a cannon object, which is basically an emitter for the projectiles, and then I positioned the cannon and eject the projectiles. And right now, player goes up, enemy goes down. So that's why there's subclasses of them right this second. That's not the way it's going to be. I want to fire smaller projectiles at a slower speed at where the player is, traditional style. But baby steps, that's what I've got to work in. My brain can only cope so much. Okay, so that now my layers are going to come into effect, right? So now my enemy fire masks on 1, but my player is on 1. Collision 1. It doesn't hit there at all, does it? Yeah, it's not hitting that at all. The bullet is a area 2D as well. Yeah, so it's working. So it's working the opposite way, right? And by changing the collision layers, I did have. It doesn't collide with itself now. Mass on 1, layer 1, mass on 2. So that. So on layer 2. Yeah. Yeah, on the player though, and on the enemy. So the tank has area entered. So detecting a collision, the bullet is not the one detecting it's collided. The thing is the one that's detecting it's collided. And what I expect to do is here, what I expect to do here is kind of bumble my way through several things and understand bit by bit, because again, I still have this mental model of a game being, hey, I know about everything and have these objects that know about everything. And, that's the thing I've got to overcome bit by bit. So getting to get my head around who knows what and who tells what, etc., is going to be part of the challenge. Because again, even now, I'm calling a method on the projectile from another thing, right? That's not a responsibility I want. That is not something I want to do. Or that's not something I would traditionally do. Not necessarily something I want to do, but that's not something that feels right, because then this knows about that, and, why will the bullet need an on-hit right now? That's what I mean. Right now, the collision occurred just cues. I'm trying to move forward bit by bit. I'm not trying to get to the end solution quickly. So now, if I move this in the path of the bullets, what I expect to see is the enemy bullets just disappear. Right? That's what I'm looking to do first. You can name the layers, yeah, but the layers don't visually change in here, do they? So, wouldn't you want to have the bullet detect collision, since the bullet should probably also collide with other stuff in the future? But so if I make the bullet detect the collision, what does the bullet do? So the bullet needs to know who it's collided with. And welcome in, Randall, by the way. Hope you're well. So flip the dependency. When the bullet hits something, the bullet says, "Hey, who are you?" Right. So the projectile on hit. Thanks. I have literally no idea of Godot. I've just jumped into your stream. Thank you for popping in. I assume you were dropped in from another video or something, because that's how people normally find YouTube streams. It seems like, yeah, I'm trying to stumble my way through this. I'm a developer of over 2 decades of app development. I'm trying to get my head around how I might do game development, right? What is the thought of this? You want to keep it as dumb as possible. A bullet is such a scenario, which is why I was flipping the hit. So the bullet just fires, and then the thing that it collides with says, "Hey, I've been collided with." Pattern exists that is called hitbots, hurtbots. Okay. Hitbots object. Okay. Gotcha. Yep. Right now, just as a speed, and I attach the visibility notifier. But again, that's something that will change. Okay, so the hurtbots not when a player or any type of object registers the damage. Okay. This is normal, there's just one instance, yeah. Tank. That doesn't matter. Layer 2, mass 1. Bullet. Layer 1, mass 2. Enemy fire, layer 2, mass 1. That's right, because that should be on layer mass 1. In your scenario, the player would have hurt bots into this. Okay, so that's what's happening, right? There is collision mask 1, layer 1, mask 1. The player bullet is on layer 1 and mask 2. The enemy fire is on layer 2 and masks 1. The tank is on layer 2. And the player is on layer 1. Hold on. There you go. That's what it... Because the player needs to mask 2 so they can understand 2. There you go. Since the player is just detectable, it really does not need a mask. Right. But the way I've set it up, I've kind of made it that's... Yeah, okay. So that's what's happening there now. That's ending that because it's on... because I detect collisions against layer 2 as well. If you set the layers mask in the cannon script, you can ensure it matches the cannon's parent in case you ever switch layers. Monitoring and monitorable. Gotcha. Okay. Monitoring. If true, the area detects bodies or areas entering and exiting it. If true, other monitoring areas can detect this area. So, right. So the bullet is monitorable, yeah, because it needs to know. It doesn't need to know about itself. Okay, which means it's not doing the checks to see if it's been collided with. It's just doing. It just tells others I can be collided with. Gotcha. Okay, this makes sense. So right now, if I step in the path of the enemy fire, they disappear. I am invincible. Oh, now I'm not firing again. Ugh. What did I change there? Cannon. Load. Why are you not firing now? I bet you are firing, but you are. Just imagine you have more than a few on the screen, like hundreds of thousands, can make the difference of tens of frames of performance. Yeah, that I can understand now. Yeah. Okay, so now my bullet is being swallowed by the same script. So I've done something now. So now my bullet but no, I do need my bullet to mask onto. Yeah. Right, but the bullet. Yeah, what have I done there? So my bet is this is getting hit when the bullet emits. So the player, this is happening, right? Do you want to have the bullet fired by the player to mask differently? Yeah, that's what I just getting. So I'm just getting my brain around. Right, that's what's missing here. I'm being dense. So my initial thought was the bullet is on layer 1 and masks on layer 2. The enemy fire is on layer 2 and masks on layer 1. But yeah, again, that's why I'm doing this project. This project is not going to be a game. It's going to be the mechanics of a game to try and get me to understand things like the layers, to try and over time get to understand things like the collisions and what nodes I should be using when, and how to attach scripts and how to do all this stuff. So this is not going to be the perfect project that everyone should watch to learn how to do game dev. That is for certain. It's on layer 2, it masks on layer 1. So the idea there was that the bullet would be on layer 1, and this is on layer 2. My fear here is that I'm going to overlap them somehow. So, that's why, because I don't want to mask. That's why. There you go. That's better. So now that stops firing. That stops firing. Yeah, I'm aware I can name them. It just doesn't do anything visually for me here, right? So if we rename that now to enemies, editor, so project settings, layer 1, player. Right. Enemies. Project settings. 2D render. That's not. Oh, one's mask and one's layer. But that's visuals, right? Visibility. Bob. So 2D render. Okay, so they just don't. So 2D physics play it and enemies, right? Okay. So I can use this for. Okay. And then. But that's. I mean, that's technically that, right? If I'm going to put that into a visibility layer. That's enemies, masks, player. Okay. I appreciate the input. I really do appreciate this. Thank you very much for the contributions here. This is moving me forward. Okay. So that's functioning. Fire. Okay. I'm not pushing the project. I'm just making sure I do commits. So so when I screw something up, I can go back to it. I'm trying to at least get comfortable with that practice very early on. My tendency in normal app dev is to build quite a lot of stuff, and I really do need to improve my discipline there. I mean, I've only been doing it for a while. So for those new to the stream, what I'm going to do for the next several weeks at the very least is on Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm going to focus on this, on building out this little game and trying to get more comfortable with Godot. See if I can get to the point where it becomes a little bit more natural and comfortable. So get some of the concepts down. So like I said earlier on, I want to know about, I want to progress with different enemy types, different enemy, like waves of enemies, aircraft flying in, etc. End conditions and all these sorts of things. Build a little shoot 'em up game that is at least useful for me to understand the concepts. It's gonna be a struggle. I'm going to do some things wrong, but that's kind of why I'm doing it, right? I want to learn through doing, because it's just my way, as a lot of people, and share the journey on the stream. I am going to continue my main application on Wednesdays through Fridays, because that is something that is very much a passion project, and is something that I really feel I have to move forward with. Otherwise, that gets too easy to just push off to the back. So the stream will not become a game dev stream wholly, but it is Mondays and Tuesdays definitely are, for right now, dedicated to this. And then I do have this other project that we normally do on Mondays and Tuesdays, Water Drink Water. This is at a point now where it is big enough as an application for people to kind of comment on and contribute to, and it's an application for tracking water consumption and sharing it with friends, and you can kind of see, where your friends are on their progress. And there's a lot of stuff in there already. So I don't want to go too far ahead on this project, because I'm doing a lot of development, and the bigger the project gets, the more difficult it is for newcomers to join in. So I want to make sure that I'm not pushing too far ahead with this, so that hence why switching to game dev for a bit. I hope you have a look at Godot later on as a possible UI framework for an app, as long as you don't get frustrated with the control nodes. Doing stuff on stream would be pretty cool. Wait, Godot uses C#? Yep. Godot, one of the options for Godot is C#. You don't have to just do the GD script. And The one thing that's appealing about Godot is that it uses the current version of C#, not the old version. Although I will say, when I started the project, I did have to go in here and switch this out to .NET 8, because it was .NET 6 by default. Yeah, when I first started, that was .NET 6. Because I went to use a language feature, and it was like, nope, can't do that. Don't know what that was about. Maybe my Godot versions. No? That's fine. At least, yeah. But it does use the latest version, so it is a step ahead. I actually did install a bunch of other engines as well. In fact, it is so current that C# they're still waiting for MS to implement exports for WebAssembly. So it's actually Microsoft that are backing up that feature? Oh. I didn't realize it was Microsoft that was preventing this from doing web builds. So they're actually going to export. So Godot with GDScript actually exports web assemblies. That's how it does in the browser. Right, I just thought it was a pipeline thing that was not implemented properly. I didn't realize it was an actual limitation of C# of the framework. Yeah. So this is fun. So when you put Movie Maker mode on, everything goes at a million miles. I think I'd be I'm done for in this game if look at that man. Movie Maker mode is is ridiculous. I guess I'll learn about that later. That's why the recommendation still stands. If C# is a must for web export, use Godot 3. Gotcha. Okay. Well, not something that's going to affect me for right now, right? Because it's going to be it's going to be a long time before I get to the point where I have a game that I would even consider. I mean, it's cool that it exists, that you can still build games for the browser. It's something I'd recommend that at least I do when testing to make my life a tiny bit easier. Before running, keep 1 second delay at the start of your game so you've got some time to get ready. That makes sense. Well, again, mechanics, then screens and things like that. So start screens, like the way I'd like to see this finish. And again, I'm not trying to put any formal design to this. The finish for this would be when you start, you get a like a coin op style startup screen, so I can play with fonts, I can play with input. I can then have levels and high score, and I think that will allow me to pull all those pieces together. That would be kind of my end goal for this project, but it is as far as I can take it, right? Okay, so what was I going to do then? I was going to do something. Oh, I was going to change. So the projectile. The enemy fire projectile. So this is kind of what was being talked about before, right? The ability to make these more generic, because the projectile speed, I'd have to give different enemies different projectiles. And also, why? I know why. Camera. Does it zoom? So when I fire my projectile, right? There's a projectile, right? At 3000%, there's a projectile. The enemy fire. Ah, that's significantly bigger, isn't it? Sprite 2D. Yeah, that's too big. Okay, welcome in. Hello. It's my right now. It's my hey, have you gone off screen thing. That was what I attached to that. Whether it's the right way or not, I don't know. But it basically just tells me if it's gone off screen, and if it goes off screen, I dispose of it straight away. So it just tells it in the script. Yeah, so the projectile has a notifier attached, and if it exits the screen, it disposes of it itself. Okay. What am I doing here? So this is one of Kenny's sprite arts. I'm not trying to. What's that? Seems you still use the default texture filter. Linear has an anti-alias effects for pixelated graphics. You want to switch to the nearest neighbor filter to keep things blocky. Okay. Again, not something I've changed, so. Project, settings. Textures, linear, nearest. Thank you. Here's a good question. What type of game development do you find more fun? From a framework such as Love 2D is an example, or from a game engine? I like to do it from a framework since it feels fun. Making everything myself. Oh yeah. It removes the Vaseline texture. It looks like it's got Vaseline over it. Little fly. Yeah. Yeah, everything looks slightly smeared normally. Cool, thank you. I mean, from my perspective, I don't know. You have to ask the actual game developers in the room their thoughts. Got no skills. So I forget that YouTube. I can't get YouTube content to go into Twitch yet, so I got to figure that out. The question was, here's a quick question. What type of game development do you find more fun, from a framework such as Love 2D as an example, or from a game engine? I like to do it from a framework since it feels fun, making everything myself. I think it depends on what your goals are. Yeah. I forget the I've tried, and I can't get the YouTube messages to come onto the stream screen, so I apologize. Cool. Well, we got that working now. What I was figuring out was, why is the enemy fire massive by comparison, right? So we got to bullet at 3000%. Right. and enemy fire. There's a little bit of a size difference. So I got no skills. I mean, again, my experience here is so limited that right now, having 30 years ago almost trying to build a game and trying to do, actually not 30 years ago, like 25, 27 years ago, trying to do DirectX coding with, like I said earlier on, Andrei Lomoth's book, trying to learn how to put things on the screen and build them. I can definitely see why Game Engine is so much better from a productivity standpoint. I think most games are just not, especially when they're using frameworks like this, they're not, you're not spending a lot of time focused on the optimization. So I can't see why the Game Engine isn't appealing. If you want total control and you have the skill set to use it, I can definitely see that a framework that is giving you everything and you're just kind of building all the other pieces makes sense. Does it just not work because I have the import set that way in 4? It was so long ago that I set these properties that maybe I did set it where you mentioned. I can't remember. The texture filter is not set in the import settings anymore. You set it in the texture property of the node or in the project settings. Right. Okay, so this is too big, I think, is the problem. I bet my transform is... No, that's set to 1. But they're the same, almost identical projectile. Resource. How did I pick this? Atlas texture, empty. How do I do this? Edit region, that's what I did. Okay, so that needs... The atlas is loading, tile maps, tiles, and then edit region. Okay, that's what I wanted. So why does that one for the... player... Why is that so much bigger? Of course, when I want to get something done quickly, I'd take Game Engine any day over Framework. But when it's something small and I'm not too worried about the progress, I choose Framework. Makes sense. Yeah, I don't have enough experience to even... Like, considering writing my own right now, that's not where I'm going to get to. Right? Because there's a lot of the mechanics, a lot of the componentry that I've got to get my head around to be able to do this. They're based on the same... there we go. That's why. Because the sprite... No, that's the sprite transform. It's quarter. I'm not scared. The thing is at 1. The scale of the actual enemy fire is at 1. But the scale of this... a size down. Okay. So that should look a little bit less silly. I mean, they're all heading in the wrong direction, but it's fine. Because that's going to be another challenge. So that's great that I've got this and now it's coming down the screen like a little map pin. But ultimately, what I want to be able to do is say, hey, where is the player fire in that direction, right? So that's the next challenge. Worry about... And this is where I get stuck a lot. stuck often, by the way, is because what I do is I start to think about how I'm going to do something, and then I try and refine the visuals of what it looks like, right? So, wow, we are doing game dev now, huh? Hey, and how you doing? We're doing game dev on Mondays and Tuesdays. We're going to intersperse it a little bit with some drink water discussion. I'll find the balance over the next couple of weeks as to what people are interested in. I can say just from the pure numbers that more people are interested in this than they are in what I normally do. But this is something I love. I love the idea of. What I was saying then was I get stuck on the visuals, and I've got to get past that. I've got to get moving towards enemy fire corrected scale. Let's do this properly. Commit to main. Switch. Rendering mode of textures to move. Vaseline. That's not going to turn it. Honestly, my best advice for gaming is just go for it. It might not be perfect, but you'll make a base of what you want to instead of spending all day trying to figure out how to make it. So, I've watched Apex. If you haven't followed Apex, I would recommend. It's getting back into streaming. He's been building a game, but working on the mechanics and the AI, but also doing spending a lot of time on the testing of things. I've been watching people like Sorcery and Cetalix and Fullbox, and the different ways they are developing the games and the things that they're doing has kind of inspired me a little bit more. Sorcery definitely, because she's saying, hey, look, this isn't the final version of this game, but here's all the things working and it looks nice, but these aren't the final graphics. This is all placeholder stuff. This is all, I'm going to switch these things out. What? I mean, you were the reason we included testing in my project. So I've got to get over with game dev. I've always been stuck on the idea that, there's a way of doing it, and then trying to apply my app dev stuff has always made me fall short. And then I get stuck on the way it looks, and I need to get past that. I need to not worry about the way it looks and worry about the way it's functioning, and then worry about the way it's looking. And the irony here is that I've just gone from that same attitude on my normal app to saying, hey, no, I need to spend some time on the way it looks, because some of how it looks is going to help me focus on what it needs. So the different ways of approaching software development in this case. I've loved games for, what was my first video game? Not the most not the best game to give a child. But that was the first game I ever played. Not in 1982. I played it in 1985 when I got a VIC-20. So I was a 5-year-old that was enjoying destroying cities. But I've loved playing games since then, right? We had consoles, we played a lot of games, we bought a lot of games, and game dev is something that's always fascinated me. It's just been beyond my skill set. And yeah. In my opinion, game dev made other dev make more sense, like building ECS in app dev or web dev. building an ECS pattern has made web dev or backend dev make more sense to me. Started playing games on Atari. We had a friend who had an Atari. We went around to their house. My first game was Duke Nukem for MS-DOS. Sometimes I've done things I didn't even know I could do just because I just went for it. Say taking time on assets is a teensy tiny bit necessary, or else no one would even support your project, right? I disagree it's beyond your skill set. I think I've got to adapt to my skill set a little bit here. There's things that are very different. So we'll see. We'll grow. That's the point. The point is to have fun with this, right? If it stops being fun and starts being a chore, that's when it gets challenging. And again, that's why I'm streaming it, right? Yeah. I'm still trying to do that. Events and encapsulation, SRP are all shared concepts. I think you're encouraging this. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the contributions. This has been a very rewarding couple of days of doing this. I will be doing more of it for certain. Again, maybe 6 months from now, I'm looking at this and building this software the same way I would build my regular software, right? I've seen the patterns, I've adapted, and I've understood who knows what about what, right? Because again, something simple, right? So the scorekeeper, first pass, right? The scorekeeper, I have, don't worry about generators right now. The enemy is scoreable, right? And when it hits, the scorekeeper, when it starts up, it actually listens for all the enemy collisions. And that's when it scores, right? Because it just gets the score. But then the actual score, yeah. There's no single way to develop games. Everyone has their own way. Best anyone can do is advice from own experience. Contracts instead of interfaces, I like that naming. Don't obsess when you get stuck on something. Don't hesitate to look something up. Saw many devs with the I'm seasoned dev, I know what I'm doing attitude, and never bother to look anything up. Rather than click around in Godot. So I said it earlier on in the stream, right? So right now, this is a reset for me in some respects because I don't know what I don't know. I don't know the terms for what I'm trying to search for. I've got to learn some of this from scratch, right? If it's code-wise, I'm more comfortable, right? Because again, seasoned dev, I've been doing this a while as a developer, but I've not been doing game dev as well. So I've got to learn things as I go. Learning things such as the texture mode or learning the layers and stuff like that. Those are going to take time. So I've got to learn what I'm searching for as I go, right? And so, yeah, don't hesitate to look something up. With time, I will get more adept at searching for what I want to know, right? I'm going to type some random stuff into Google from time to time because I have no idea what I'm searching for. So that's why, again, streaming is a really good way of doing this. I love the Godot dots. If you compare it to other projects, it's very accessible. So I have done some work with some friends in Unreal and in Unity. I have not been the one responsible for doing most of the development there. So I did like tinkering pieces. So I didn't actually make any of the game stuff. I just kind of worked on. Actually, this is why this came to mind first, to get the player to go up the screen and hit the stopper. So this bar goes with the camera, right? And then when it hits the stops, it can actually know that it's finished. That's something that I implemented in Unity as part of a project, but I just did that basic piece. don't hesitate to ask the audience. You find people who've been doing C# for years. The Godot dots are decent. I find a lot of the tutorials very basic. Yeah, the GD script stuff, I've already seen that the GD script stuff, if you can adapt the the visual style, you're good. The docs are comprehensive, even if they're not specific C#. The tutorials, I did follow through some of the tutorial stuff early on my first checkout of Godot. But yeah, the docs are pretty good, and the tutorials I found there's quite some good stuff in there. So, okay. So what I'm going to do next, and again, I'm going to return to my normal app dev tomorrow because it is something that I need to focus some time on. That is, ultimately, that is, I'm not a C# developer currently. Well, I'm not a .NET developer professionally currently. I kind of consider that project to be not just a thing to do on stream. It is something that I do care about, and it's something that I feel is a portfolio project. So that's why I do treat the stream very much as a professional outlet. So I will continue that. Otherwise, I would do game dev all the time, pretty much. If I could just have fun doing stuff, I would do whatever I wanted to do on any given day. But I really do want to put my heart and effort into that other project. So I hope people can join me for that as well. But it's not as interesting as this for certain. For myself, I think the tutorials are not presented to be scalable. Most tutorials aren't presented to be scalable. Most tutorials lack going beyond the limits of the actual tutorial themselves, because they are meant to be a bite-sized piece. So, yeah, I don't think many tutorials scale out. Okay, so game info is my overlay. That has the scoring script attached to it. Scoring the... I'll leave... I really need to put streamer mode on when I go. If I get a ping in Discord, I can't avoid it. Scoring. Scorekeeper has a scorekeeper script. Main has a scorekeeper. Scorekeeper has... I have to leave for work. Thanks for the stream. I enjoy these because I have the ability to interact a little bit more. Apex, thank you very much. Thank you for all the contribution. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to catch you next stream soon. And yeah. This has been a productive one. So the goal next is to basically make these... So this is going to be my first, or my next big challenge, right? Is I want the enemy tanks to understand where the player is and fire in their direction. So I have some ideas on how to do that. Some of them are kind of a cheat, but we'll see. But yeah, I don't quite know how to do that. And then obviously, instead of the projectile going down the screen, the projectile is going to have to take a vector and fire at that direction. So that's going to be a challenge, because I'm obviously going to adjust by... I assume I just calculate the vector, the XY vector, and then just apply that constantly to the same way I do up or down, etc. It'd be like 0.8, 0.5 or something, and then just fire in that way. Whenever you need hints, just ask, I won't backseat. There are methods for it already. I appreciate that, Captain Fubar. It's some of it's going to be muddling through, some of it's going to be prompts. I don't mind the prompts. I just don't. What I'm not asking for is hand holding through everything. The prompts you've given me today have been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate that. Canny, Apex, yourself, and everybody else that's giving me stuff today. I really do appreciate it. Because this is fun. This is a good challenge. Speaking of awesome game devs, I can only provide productive, encouraging energy, and it is very much appreciated online. This is not our normal world, right? I feel much more comfortable when I'm talking about Kafka and distributed stuff. This is like Angular to me. It's the UI. Yeah. But Canny is also a developer I would recommend checking out, who does game development and is extremely talented. You're just on voice activation mode because of regular boring work things. No worries, Kenny. Well, unfortunately, I do have to finish up shortly. So, for next stream or before next stream, I will probably take a chop at this. This project I'm not just doing on stream. This is whenever I get the chance, I'm going to tinker with this. Basically, I want to aim at the player and fire. That's going to give me some challenges because I think, again, that whole dependency thing, right? How does this know to fire in that direction? Well, it has to see it, so it has to know where that player is. So it has to have something to know where players are. So that's going to be interesting. When you want to be more proficient with the coding part, there are just 3 major classes that I always suggest to learn. The basic object class, the node class, and the scene tree class will help you 90% of the way. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be this is going to be fun. So, like I said, we're going to end up with the goal will be to end up with a start screen like a traditional style 8-bit coin-op shooter. Start screen. We'll end up with a couple of levels. We'll put different enemies on here. Try and make some varied looking levels, and that will be the goal for this as a game. So I do want to take it through to an actual mini game, but yeah, I think I'll learn a lot along the way, since most nodes just extend from object and node. Okay. Yeah, the programming model is going to come along the way. So cool. Well, fortunately, I do have to get off. So he's just starting. When I'm doing game this stuff, I kind of just want to jump into kind of bounce between full bots and then sorcery, and then I end up with others later in the day. So we're gonna go back to full bots. I like going to full bots to stream. It's fun. He may be developing some more balls, but his title suggests he's going to do something else today. So let's go see full bots. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for hanging out. Ads. I apologize, but I do have to go. So thank you very much. If you're still there and you're not behind ads, I appreciate everybody, all the contributions, everyone hanging out. This has been a lot of fun, and I will I will see you around. So thank you all. Take care. Bye.